Russ Landy in the house for our weekly NFL draft segment. We have talked throughout the season about how this upcoming quarterback class could, in theory, supplant 1983. Yep. But we haven't talked that much about Bryce Petty. Where does he stand in the NFL scouts' eyes?
You know, scouts really like him. I mean, he's not a guy that NFL teams expect to come out. They think he's going to stay in for his final year. But they really like the fact that he's a big kid. He's got a decent arm. He's got great mechanics. And he's tremendous in terms of poise, not making mistakes, not throwing the ball where it shouldn't be. The big question is, does he have the big arm to really be a top-flight quarterback and therefore a high draft pick? Most teams now say maybe second to third round.
A couple interesting stats I found on Petty. 50 more yards than Jameis Winston with about 30 fewer throws. And you know how we keep talking about how Mariota hasn't thrown a pick all year? He's got 25 touchdowns. Well, Petty has 24 touchdowns and only 1 pick.
And not only that, but let's remember, the game against Stanford, Mariota threw 2 or 3 balls that went right into defenders' hands. So in the NFL's eyes, he's thrown picks. It may not show up statistically.
But you know what? Mariota just wasn't Mariota. He was clearly hobbled. Yep. The knee was an issue. And that's not something that we really found out until after the fact. How about Andre Williams from Boston College? He's the nation's leading rusher, a little more than 1,800 yards, 634 in the last 2 games, which has fueled the Eagles' 3-game win streak. What are scouts saying about him?
You know, they like him. This is a guy that came into the year, really wasn't thought of as even a draftable player. Now he's definitely going to be drafted. He reminds a lot of scouts of sort of a slower version of Brandon Jacobs. Big, well-built kid, runs a little bit upright, but still is able to run through contact, gain yards. The concern is he's not a real quick twitch kid. You don't see that explosive change of direction and the top end speed. But a lot of teams think in that 4th, 5th round, he could be a guy that you get that ideally is a backup, but could spot start and be a decent player in the NFL.
BC's got Maryland and Cuse left on the schedule. He has the ability to become the first 2,000-yard rusher since 2008. Do you know who did it?
No idea.
I want to give the Jeopardy music. Donald Brown from UConn.
Who's having a resurgence this year, beating out Trent Richardson.
There you go. Top draft pick potentially we're not thinking about.
Well, Khalil Mack out of Buffalo, an elite pass rusher, came into the year sort of a middle-of-the-road, 3rd, 4th round guy. Great opening game against Ohio State, 3 sacks, returned to play for a touchdown. Could end up being one of those surprise guys that ends up challenging to be the first pick in the draft because he is a great pass rusher.
I will tell everybody who's watching this show that if you just listen to Russ Landy, you will never be more informed about an NFL draft than you could ever imagine. Russ, thanks so much for the time.